You could hear it before you even opened the door. The clatter of lunchboxes on the school bus, the click of the old CBC News intro, and the hollow thud of milk bottles hitting the doorstep at dawn. None of it's here anymore, but if you grew up in Canada in the 80s, every one of these memories is carved into you like initials on a picnic table at the local park. We dug up 10 things we truly miss from that cozy, colorful, proudly Canadian decade. And warning, some of them might hit you right in the childhood. 1. The Eaton's Christmas Catalog. Before online shopping, before scrolling, swiping, and one-day delivery. There was one book that ruled Canadian households every December, the Eaton's Christmas Catalog. For kids, it wasn't just paper. It was pure electricity bound in glossy pages. As soon as it landed in the mailbox, families treated it like treasure. Children flipped straight to the toy section, circling dreams with red markers until the pages looked like colorful battle maps. Parents browsed the home goods and clothing sections, quietly planning Christmas morning while pretending not to notice the dog-eared toy pages. Their kids left behind. Everything about the catalog felt magical. The smell of fresh ink and glossy paper, the weight of it in your hands, the excitement of imagining new Christmas pajamas or that one toy you hoped Santa might bring. For many Canadian kids, flipping through the Eaton's catalog was the unofficial start of the holiday season. Even more iconic than the first snowfall, the catalog didn't just show products, it stirred imagination. The staged living rooms, the twinkling decorations, the families smiling in matching sweaters, everything made Christmas feel warm, reachable, and beautifully Canadian. You didn't just browse it, you dreamed through it, and then almost abruptly, it was gone. Eaton's closed, the catalogs stopped coming, and a national tradition quietly disappeared. When the final Christmas catalog vanished, it felt like an entire era of anticipation vanished with it. Today, people remember it, not for what it sold, but for how it made them feel, excited, hopeful, and wrapped in a kind of holiday magic that simply doesn't exist anymore. 2. The OG CBC. Kids shows. Before streaming, before endless apps, before kids could watch anything they wanted at any time. There was a gentler, slower kind of childhood, one shaped by CBC's original kids shows. If you grew up in Canada in the 70s or 80s, you didn't just watch Mr. Dressup, The Friendly Giant, or Today's Special. You lived with them. These shows weren't flashy or loud. They were soft, warm, and deeply human. And somehow, that made them unforgettable. Every morning, the CBC lineup felt like a comforting routine. You'd hear the familiar intro music, and instantly the world felt safe. Mr. Dressup opened his tickle trunk, pulling out costumes that fueled your imagination for the rest of the day. The Friendly Giant invited you into his tiny, cozy castle with chairs set just for you. Today's Special brought the magic of department stores to life in ways only Canadian TV could manage. Whimsical, charming, and a little odd in the best possible way. These shows weren't trying to overstimulate or overwhelm. They taught kindness, creativity, and patience. They spoke softly, moved slowly, and left space for your imagination to fill in the rest. Even the sets looked like something familiar. Cardboard castles, simple puppets, handmade props. There was nothing digital or polished, yet everything felt full of heart. And the best part, you knew every kid across Canada was watching the exact same thing at the exact same time. No algorithms, no on-demand playlists. Just a shared national moment of childhood. Saturday mornings belonged entirely to kids, and CBC was the glowing center of that universe. As the years passed, the shows faded, replaced by louder, faster, more modern entertainment. But the memories stayed. Today, hearing Mr. Dressup's music or seeing a Friendly Giant clip online can instantly transport Canadians back to a simpler era, one where imagination, kindness, and cardboard castles were more than enough. 3. Zellers and the Zeddy era. If you grew up in 80s Canada, Zellers wasn't just a store, it was a weekly event that lived somewhere between a family outing and a childhood adventure. The moment you walked through those red-letter doors, something about the place felt unmistakably Canadian. The floors echoed with shopping cart wheels. The smell of the restaurant drifted through the aisles. And Zeddy, the fuzzy brown mascot, seemed to appear at every mall event, waving like he owned the place. Every kid had their favorite corner of Zellers. Some sprinted straight to the toy aisle, where action figures, dolls, and board games were stacked in colorful, slightly chaotic rows. Others headed to the electronics section to poke at display models that didn't fully work. Parents wandered through clothing racks or browsed home goods while we trailed behind, hoping they'd accidentally pass through the toy section again, And then there was the restaurant. Those iconic fries, the warm gravy, the classic cheeseburgers, and the soft-serve ice cream that felt like the perfect end to a shopping trip. Nothing today tastes quite like a Zellers meal. Families didn't go there because it was fancy. They went because it felt familiar, comfortable, and part of the routine. Seasonal sections were their own kind of magic. Back-to-school displays Halloween costumes in plastic bags, aisles overflowing with Christmas decorations. Everything felt exciting, affordable, and reachable. Zellers wasn't trying to impress. It was simply there for you all year round. When the store began disappearing across Canada, it felt like losing a longtime neighbor, the friendly one who always waved and remembered your name. And while the brand has tried to return in small bursts, nothing quite recreates the warmth of walking into a full-size Zellers in the 80s or 90s. For many Canadians, Zellers wasn't just a discount store. It was childhood wrapped in red signs, mall music, and the comforting smile of Zeddy himself. For hockey cards and corner stores, walking into a Canadian corner store in the 80s felt like stepping into a tiny universe where sugar, cardboard, and childhood dreams all lived under one buzzing fluorescent light. Before smartphones, before online shopping, before kids had endless digital distractions. There was one mission that ruled every allowance: Opichai hockey cards. You'd push open the squeaky glass door, and the smell of gum, newspapers, and warm air from the fridge coolers hit you instantly. Behind the counter sat boxes of OPC packs, stacked like treasure. They were small, cheap, and bursting with possibility. Kids didn't just buy them, they hunted for them. You'd tear open a pack right outside the store, that sugary pink stick of brittle gum cracking in your hand, and then came the moment of truth. Would it be Gretzky, Messier Lemieux, a rookie card you'd brag about for weeks, or another stack of doubles destined for the next recess trade session? Every schoolyard had its own stock market system. Kids gathered in circles, flipping cards like they were high-stakes traders. A Gretzky card could buy you 2 Messiers, 3 mid-level players, or an entire lunch's worth of bargaining power. The deals were fast, chaotic, and full of drama. Someone always got ripped off, and someone always walked away feeling like a champion. And corner stores weren't just about hockey cards, they were temples of Canadian childhood. Bazooka gum, Popeye candy sticks, Fun Dip, slushies, half-penny candies scooped into tiny brown bags. You'd walk out feeling like royalty, even if you only had 50 cents. Today, hockey cards still exist, but they're slicker, pricier, and somehow less magical. The corner stores of the 80s have faded too, replaced by chains and digital convenience. But that feeling, the thrill of ripping open a fresh pack on a cold sidewalk, the sound of trading cards snapping in your hands, the glow of the neon open sign behind you, that's something no modern hobby will ever recreate for 80s Canadian kids. Hockey cards weren't just collectibles, they were currency, community, and pure childhood adrenaline packed into a little foil wrapper. 5. The original A&W drive-in before fast food chains became generic, rushed, and identical. There was something undeniably magical about pulling into an A&W drive-in on a warm Canadian evening in the 70s or 80s. The glow of the orange and brown signage, the soft buzz of neon lights, and the clatter of trays being hooked onto car windows created a feeling that was part diner, part movie scene, and entirely unforgettable. Families didn't just eat at A&W, they arrived. You'd roll into the lot, choose a spot, and wait for the car hop to glide over with a smile, pencil tucked behind the ear, ready to take your order. Frosty mugs of root beer appeared first, dripping condensation, heavy in your hands, tasting like pure childhood. No plastic cups, no paper straws, just solid glass that made everything feel real. And then came the burgers. The teen burger tasted like backyard summer, smoky, juicy, perfectly messy. The Mama and Papa burgers made you feel like you were in on a family secret. Even the fries had a distinctive A&W crunch that somehow made the whole meal feel like a celebration. For kids, the drive-in meant staying up late, sitting in the back seat, feet dangling as you ate dinner with the windows rolled down. The parking lot was alive with families chatting, radios playing, and headlights flicking on and off as new cars arrived. Teenagers cruised slowly through the lot, hoping to be noticed, while younger kids pressed their faces to the windows to watch the car hops zip from car to car. 6. RadioShack Canada. Before sleek smartphones and silent touchscreens took over our lives, there was a time when technology felt noisy, hands and wonderfully mysterious, and nowhere captured that feeling better than RadioShack Canada. Walking through its doors in the 80s felt like entering a secret laboratory where anything was possible. The hum of fluorescent lights, the faint smell of plastic and solder, the rows of blinking gadgets. It was every curious kid's dream playground. It was an education. You could spend hours pressing buttons on tape recorders, testing batteries with the iconic red and black tester, or flipping switches on devices you didn't fully understand, but desperately wanted to. The employees weren't salespeople. They were patient tech wizards who could explain every resistor, every adapter, every weird little part hanging on those pegboard walls. And then there were the walkie-talkies. For kids, they were the height of cool. Your first taste of wireless communication, your own private channel with your best friend across the street. Add in the mini RC cars, electronic kits, and those 150-inch -1 project boards with wires you snapped into springs. And suddenly, your bedroom became a full-blown workshop. The cassette section was its own world. Boomboxes, headphones, blank tapes, waiting to be filled with mixtapes recorded off the radio, carefully timing the record. Button to cut out the DJ's voice. You'd test the display models, hearing your favorite songs through big foam headphones that felt like cushions on your ears. Even adults loved RadioShack. Need a cable? A fuse? A replacement bulb? A plug for something you couldn't name? RadioShack had it, usually in a tiny drawer labeled in tiny print. It was the only place where you could buy a VCR remote, a soldering iron, and a novelty gadget, all in the same trip. And then, as technology evolved, the magic dimmed. Sleeker electronics took over. Big box stores replaced specialty shops, and RadioShack gradually disappeared from Canadian streets. But for those who grew up in the 80s, the memory remains sharp, standing in an aisle full of mysterious parts, dreaming of inventions you might someday build. RadioShack Canada didn't just sell electronics, it sparked curiosity, and for countless kids, it was the first place where the future felt close enough to touch. 7. Saturday morning, cartoons on CBC and CTV. There was a time long before streaming, DVRs, and watch it later buttons when Saturday morning cartoons weren't just entertainment. They were an event. If you grew up in Canada in the 70s or 80s, you know exactly what that meant. You woke up early, sometimes before your parents, padded into the living room in your pajamas, poured cereal that was mostly sugar, and planted yourself in front of the TV, and for a few golden hours, the world belonged entirely to kids. CBC and CTV were the twin pillars of Canadian childhood. No algorithms, no endless options, no scrolling, just a carefully curated lineup that hit you like a weekly holiday. Shows like Inspector Gadget, The Raccoons, The Smoggies, Care Bears, Dungeons & Dragons, and later Camp Caribou weren't just cartoons, they were anchors of childhood memory. The theme songs alone could bring you right back to the patterned couch in your family's living room. There was a unique excitement to the whole ritual. You didn't pick the show picked you. If you missed your favorite episode, that was it. No rewind, no second chance. Kids today will never know the thrill of hearing the intro music start and scrambling to grab your cereal before the characters appeared on screen. They'll never know the heartbreak of the TV. Going fuzzy mid-episode when the antenna shifted, Canadian networks also had their own charm, a mix of local programming, quirky animated shows, gentle educational segments, and those slightly strange intermission clips that made you wonder what adults thought children found entertaining. But it didn't matter. It was ours. And somehow, it felt special precisely because it was limited. Parents loved Saturday mornings, too, because it was the one time of the week when kids were guaranteed to sit still long enough for them to drink a hot cup of coffee in peace. Across the country, countless living rooms glowed with the same warm TV light at the same moment, connecting Canadian childhood in a way streaming never could. Today, kids can watch anything they want, anytime. But in that abundance, something got lost. The ritual, the anticipation, the shared cultural heartbeat. Saturday morning cartoons weren't just about what was on TV. They were about how it felt to be a kid in Canada. Cereal, pajamas, a glowing screen. Memories you never knew were being made. 8. Mac's Milk Stores at night. There was something magical about a Mac's Milk Store after dark in 80s Canada. That orange neon sign, glowing steadily on the corner, was like a beacon, a tiny lighthouse calling kids, teens, and parents alike. Sliding open the door, you were greeted with the cold hum of fluorescent lights, the soft chill of the milk case, and the irresistible smell of snacks piled high on every shelf. For kids, the mission was clear. Cherry, blue, raspberry, cola. You could sip them while wandering the aisles. Comparing candy bars or debating which new treat was worth blowing your allowance on, teens gravitated to the parking lot, leaning against cars, swapping stories, pretending to be older, cooler, and completely in control of the night. Parents, meanwhile, came for the essentials: milk, bread, eggs, maybe a treat for themselves after a long day. The store somehow managed to serve all ages, creating a gentle, shared community energy that you didn't realize you'd miss until it was gone. It wasn't just shopping, it was a ritual. You might run into friends after hockey practice, exchange gossip about school, or overhear the latest pop song on the store's radio. Every night spent in a Max Milk felt like a tiny adventure, a secret adult world that you were slowly learning to navigate. Max wasn't just a convenience store. It was a Canadian after-dark hub, a meeting place, a snack kingdom, and a memory that glowed orange every time you closed your eyes. 9. Canadian School. Lunch desserts. No one who grew up in Canada during the 80s ever forgot the sweet rituals of school lunch desserts. They were tiny treasures, carefully chosen from the cafeteria line or unpacked from a brown paper bag, waiting to be devoured after the last bite of mystery meat or overcooked vegetables. There was butterscotch pudding in tiny plastic cups, its caramel aroma wafting up the moment you opened it. Chocolate milk cartons, thick, rich, impossibly satisfying, were a staple, often exchanged between friends for a favorite snack or just to mix things up. Then came the iconic treats: wagon wheels, Joe's Louie, and Passion Flakies, individually wrapped and portable, perfect for sharing or hiding until after recess. They weren't gourmet, they didn't pretend to be fancy, but each bite carried a warm, nostalgic weight, linking lunchrooms across the country in a quiet, unspoken bond. And the brownies? The cafeteria made them thick, slightly underbaked, sticking to the paper napkin in the best possible way. You could smell the chocolate before you even got to the table. Passing them around became a ritual, a small act of rebellion and joy in the structured school day. Canadian school lunch desserts weren't just food. They were comfort, community, and the little joys that punctuated childhood. They were the reason kids ran to the cafeteria, smiled at their friends, and remembered school not just for lessons, but for flavor and fun. 10. Renting VHS tapes from video stores. Before Netflix, YouTube, or even the first DVDs, renting a movie was a sacred ritual. You wandered into the local video store, the bell above the door jingling, greeted by walls lined with cardboard boxes of cinematic possibilities. VHS covers screamed stories in bold fonts and lurid colors, promising adventures, laughs, or chills. You'd carefully scan the aisles, debating with siblings or friends over which movie to choose, weighing the risk of disappointment against the thrill of discovery. Finding the last copy of a new release felt like striking gold. Sometimes the tape was behind the counter, held for someone else, and the disappointment stung. You'd flip through the just returned section, praying the previous viewer had rewound it, silently thanking the universe when the tape was ready for your hands. Renting wasn't just about watching a film. It was a full sensory experience. The smell of the plastic cases, the click of the tape inside, the soft hum of the VCR waiting to be loaded at home. Friday nights became events. Popcorn popped in the microwave. Blankets were strewn across the living room floor, and everyone sat shoulder to shoulder, waiting for the story to begin. Sometimes you argued over the movie choice. Sometimes you fought over who got the best spot on the couch. But always you knew this was special. Renting VHS tapes wasn't convenient. It wasn't instant. And that was the magic. It demanded anticipation, planning, and a little adventure. No streaming algorithm could replace it. Those nights were communal, tactile, and unforgettable. A Canadian childhood cornerstone that vanished with the rise of digital entertainment. Maybe it's the sounds, the smells, or the colors of those years, but some memories from 80s Canada never leave you. These weren't just things, they were pieces of who we became. Which one hit you hardest? Or is there something we missed that still lives rent-free in your Canadian memory? Share your story below, we'd love to hear it. And if this trip back in time made you smile, leave a like to help more Canadians rediscover the magic. Sometimes the past isn't gone, it's just waiting to be remembered.